Alright, what's up, fam? I hope all is well. Last few videos are pretty good. Got some requests for this type of video, so here it is. I think today might sound a little woo-woo, so if that is not your type of thing, then just click off. But I hope not to sound too crazy, and I'm gonna try to get into some science of things, and yeah. So this kind of started from a last week's conversation about I talked about breakup seasons or just seasons where you'll see a lot of people getting into, a lot of committed relationships tend to fall apart at the same time. If you notice, like a lot of friends, if you have a lot of friends, when one person gets into a breakup, you'll notice someone else and someone else and someone else, and so it'll just keep going, and you'll notice like a lot of times like this will happen to a bunch of people at the same time. And so same thing with going into relationships, right? A lot of times it's cuffing season. There's literally terms for this. Um, even with my past relationship, but even just your think about your homies. A lot of times it'll be like a bunch of friends will get into relationships at similar times, right? So I kind of want to talk a little bit about this and sort of why this happens and maybe get into the science of this if it makes any sense. So, just a little background. My degree is in molecular biology and biochemistry. So, I have a very chemical, you know, scientific understanding of things, and I like to like go into very little like into micro details of things, right? So, I also tend to be relatively religious, but to an extent, like I don't like crazy like miracle woo woo stuff, but yeah, so this is kind of a combination of both. So let's start by addressing frequencies and sort of patterns in life. Um, so everyone vibrates on a frequency, right? So a lot when these people that talk about high vibration, low vibration, this is all totally true. If you think about it, when if you're sitting still like you are right now, like let's say I don't move a single muscle, nothing. Your heartbeat is still moving, right? There's still blood is still flowing, so there's always going to be some sort of movement, right? And it's the same thing with the planets and the universe and things like that. There's always orbit. There's always things moving, right? So there's there's always going to be some like energy attached, right? And so one concept I thought this is like kind of insane. I remember learning about this in high school chemistry. I remember I'll never forget this. My teacher was like, technically teleportation exists, right? And everyone was looking at him like some psychopath. And this is how he explained the concept of entropy. So entropy is essentially the level of disorder within a molecule or something like that, right? Delta S. So, or delta, I don't even remember, delta G, whatever it is. Um, and so he said that in theory, it's possible for him, let's say there's a wall right here. It's possible for at some point for him to teleport from here to here. And how would that be possible? That's if the entropy of every single atom in the body lined up to a certain way that allowed him to quantum tunnel up until the side. That's technically possible, but the odds are like millions and millions and like it's like 0.0 to like the 100 millionth degree. Like it's like the probabilities are like slim to none. So that's why it doesn't happen. It's because law of probabilities, right? Like if it's not likely to, if it's not likely to happen, it probably won't. So some things like that, like are magic, but it's just science. It's the way things work, right? Um, it's very unlikely for every single, let's say this pen, it's very unlikely for every single atom in this pen to vibrate or whatever the case is, to line up in the exact same configuration that's required to result in this jumping out of my hand and going on this side. So what this has to do with relationships and people and things like that is that, think of it, there's cycles when it comes to everything, right? there are there's the cycle of life, there's a cycle of happiness, sadness, yin and yang, black and white, whatever you want to call it. So I truly think that when when you realize that a lot of the times there are breakup seasons, it tends I truly think that there's something in the air, right? And so this is when people's frequencies, there's something going on with the universe. There's a word for it. I forgot the exact term, but there's something with the frequencies of the universe, right? And so it's going to sound insane. People's vibrations line up to a certain way with the universe, and when a lot of people are on the same frequency, this is why you see a lot of people tend to get into relationships or whatever the case is at the same time, right? And it's the same thing when it comes to breakups. When the job of the relationship is done within the universe will know that, and it'll do its thing and end it right there, right? So a lot of times, if you notice that things are happening at similar times to other people, this is because people tend to be on similar frequencies, right? Whether it's a high frequency, low frequency, whatever the case is. And yeah, this is also why I think like some days, like if you're driving on the road, like you'll notice like some days people are just insane. Like people nonstop honking, like people have no patience. Sometimes people are super crazy, and then other days people are like super chill, you know? Like some days if you're trying to make a lane change, people are gonna let you, you know? Like different days, if you notice that there's patterns with a bunch of people, this is why. So unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. I know people say there's all this vibrational alignment things, stuff like that. You can technically raise your frequencies. You can grow to become a person to be aware of this stuff. I find myself to be someone that is just extremely sensitive to any like higher power frequency nonsense. If that, and I know it sounds crazy, but some people are more sensitive than others, right? I think some people are just more in tune with what's going on with the world and have a certain understanding. So this is sort of my explanation for why things like this happen. And so I don't know if anyone has heard about the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics from 2022. I think this was the absolute craziest thing that ever came out. I have it on my phone here. This thing, I think, from the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics in 2022 just totally changed the world from then on. And basically, it's what happened was, I have it right here. The 2022 Nobel Peace Prize in Physics was awarded to a couple people for their work on quantum entanglement. Okay, so quantum entanglement was proven true and got a Nobel Peace Prize for it. Specifically, they were recognized for experiments with entangled photons, establishing the violation of Bell inequalities and pioneering quantum information science. Their experiments demonstrated the reality of quantum entanglement, a phenomenon where two or more particles become linked together in such a way that they share the same fate, regardless of the distance separating them. So, this is precisely, I believe, the reason that... Have you ever had the experience when you're thinking about someone, you have someone on your mind, and a second or 2 seconds later, like what they send you a text or you get a call from them, right? And you just think like it's insane. Like you just thought of them and now they just reached out. So this is what happens when the photons and electrons, whatever the case is, become entangled. And so sometimes if you like I'm not going to say telepathy and thought transmission is real. Like I can't just think of a thought and put it into your head right now, right? But sometimes if you sometimes if you're in tune with someone, for example, it could be a sibling. I know this is super the case with my sister. All the time, anytime I'm thinking of my sister, within a second or two, she'll text me. And same thing with a lot of the other people in my family. So in relationships, a lot of times, if you're thinking about someone, sometimes they can feel it, right? And that can result in them acting on their thought and making them reach out, right? So obviously there's all these like nuance stuff that comes with it, right? Like people, there's free will, right? There's free will, so you can't like think something and force someone to like text you, for example, because people have free will and people have cognitive processes, right? And they have their own experiences, and all these things can put barriers into people from reaching out and doing things like that. So this is why a lot of times like this is that's the extent of my woo woo spirituality stuff, right? So I think that's where I'm at when it comes to that stuff. You can't really force things to happen, especially in the universe. But the more you're in tune with it, the more aligned with it, you tend to recognize the patterns more, right? So another point I want to make with this is that when it comes to breakup seasons or seasons where you see a lot of people just put down, like there's usually sides to this, right? Just like there's balance to everything. It's black and white. There's two sides to everything. When there's a season where good people are getting hurt for whatever the case is, good people are just something is happening, right? That's what happens when energy from one side starts to overpower another, right? And because of the law of the universe and the law of energies and things like that, that things don't always stay that way, right? So if you think that the bad quote unquote people are on one side and they're winning in this situation, the at some point the good people or the people that are losing at that moment turn into the winners at another moment, depending on what the situation is, right? We can't really predict when things like this happen, but all you can do is like sort of notice these patterns and act accordingly, right? So I got a comment on a video before, and he saying like the same thing happened to me. Like this relationship was going perfect, and all of a sudden like just came crashing down, became super abusive, all these things. So I think the reason this happens, and this person noted that this happened with a lot of people that they know as well. I think the reason this happens is because there's two teams. On one of the teams, whether it's red, blue, black, white, whatever the case you want to call it, on one of the teams, the energy from this side is starting to win, right? And it becomes overpowered, and they do their thing and leaves the good or white team like down, right? But once again, whenever this happens, this is not short. This is not long term. The people like this always has a cycle of coming back in circles. So if you find yourself on the losing team, it's only a matter of time that you're going to be on the winning team, right? So this is how you can have some hope for yourself and the universe and things like that. Don't want to get this video too long. It's already going like 13 minutes almost. But yeah, I hope this made sense. If it didn't sound too woo-woo, yeah, I might add some more later. I might add a workout to the video. We'll see. I hope you learned something. And yeah, if there's anything else I should talk about, yeah, feel free to let me know. I'm getting pretty philosophical with the beard now. But yeah, again, homework for today, go give charity, whether it's a penny, $1, whatever the case is. Just go give back to the community. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And yeah, peace out.